Now I'm going to be starting with the masking fluid on a few of the small areas that I want to just keep the whites on. Not a lot. I'm using, again, fine line, but I have the guitar strings and I want to highlight those. One of the things is just to test the frisket first before you put it onto the, there we go. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly, very lightly, go up on the guitar strings. I believe there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Doesn't have to be that strong. A tip that you can use too is that you can use your finger, your pinky, to actually kind of help you, guide you along. I think I may have been able to get 5 in there. Just checking here. I think I can get another one just in here. Oops. Okay, the other thing too is that we can go across, hopefully I didn't put my head too much in it, here where the, and if you notice with the guitar, they're quite narrow at the beginning. Oh, I'm doing terribly. And then they start to widen as you go up. And where his hand is, his fingers are actually just on one, so there's one there before. We'll just try and get them in between, and then afterwards there's 2 there. I don't know that I got enough masking on that. I'm noticing that it's gumming right at the edge, so clean off your tip every so often too. I also notice that probably here it'll be easier if I just mask in those little knobs, because I'll then be able to put the water right inside there. Also the monkey, these are so cute. His foot here, and his hands, and his ears here a little bit. And I think that's part of his front of his face. Okay, now what else can I mask? Now there are some signs on his guitar that kind of are cool. So I think what I'll do is I will just put little squares around, because you don't really need, you can have some fun with this later. So again, don't squeeze too much out, push it around, squeeze a little bit and then just push it around with the side. And you can decide if you want to put more or less for these emblems on the side of the guitar. Okay, something's going on with my masking fluid, and I'm not sure what, so I'm hoping I can still use it. I think I'm just, no, it's not that I'm squeezing too hard, because it's coming out. So it must be gumming up at the bottom, inside the neck somehow. Okay, why not? We'll just do the vodice. And some scribbles over here on something that maybe this little bit of diagonal here. Okay, there's some more white there. And what I mentioned with a hat, I think it'll be easier if we actually outline the hat. Okay. I'm starting to have a problem. Well, there we go. Whatever was in there has just come out. So now I have to just move this around. And I mentioned something about his hair. Although you don't see it very well here, but a couple of the streaks around the hair, if we can bring it down, would really help. And I'm going to actually push this around. There's a lot of masking fluid here. So I'm going to push it all around here. You could take a brush. I don't have any soap right now. Let's see here. Just going to retop the frisket, or pardon me, the fine line resist. And I'm looking for an old brush that I have here. Something that I can, aha, there we go. So I happen to have a very old brush right here, and I'm just going to push it around here to see if, now it's already drying and gumming up, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to do much right now and get all that frisket there. It's really gumming up. Fast and furious. Because you don't need much to get it to actually move over. Somebody mentioned that you could take the water and try and move it with the water, but I haven't tried this too often, and it's moving a bit, but it's also gumming right up. Oh, and there goes the brush too. So just be prepared. And I'm not going to put the logo in the front. I want it to be, I'll put a little bit of just a hint. Because the idea is I want it to be as more of less focused on the hat and more on just the guitar. Oh, and a little bit on his beard here, because there's some really great little straggling pieces here. And if I can carefully, without gumming everything up, put a few of those in here, I'd like to. It'll make it for a little more interest. It's not that he's got such a straggly beard, but it just down here a little bit by his mustache. It kind of makes it interesting. Adds a little bit of the whites in there, because it's not completely gray, it's kind of mixed. And the only thing that's really, his t-shirt is white, but you know what? We're going to try and work around the t-shirt as opposed to actually having to do anything with it. I'd rather play with that. And the water, we're going to work without any masking fluid. We're just going to play with layers of glazing. Okay. I've put my masking fluid lid back on. I've cleaned my brush here, which keeps breaking apart. Put that back before I forget it. Okay. So the first thing I'd like to do is test out a couple of colors for the water. I've got a wet cloth here. I'm going to clean off my board. From all the colors I had on here. Okay. And now what I want to do is I want to mix. We're going to try and use just the 3 primary colors again. And I'm going to try and mix with a smaller brush. I think this one. The phthalo blue first. So I want to get the phthalo blue. Let's see. You can't quite see it there. The phthalo blue. And careful. That's one of the bad things. I should really put this on top right now so that I don't accidentally drop anything over top. You can use tissue paper or anything like that, just as long as it's covering it so you're not inhibiting it. And I'm actually going to be using this paper to try and get that first layer of water that I want. I don't want it to be a really dark blue. I want it to be on the ultramarine side because it looks the sun is coming on it beautifully. It looks a little bit on the grayish side. So I thought if I put a little bit of the permanent rose in and a tiny bit of the yellow, a little bit more of the yellow, and we get this really nice color that we do some really lovely soft layers on. So that's what we're going to begin with. And how I'm going to do that is first I'm going to take a very large brush, and this is my 20. I'm going to wet the paper carefully around the guitar player and the guitar. So very carefully. First, I mean, it's certainly easier if you drop in the water around the guy and then come back in. if you even have to use a smaller brush to get closer to the image so that you're not feeling that you're having a hard time dealing with that. So I've put the water almost all the way around. This is going to be so much easier to be in control of the wash at the back. Oh, this paintbrush still has all the paint in it. I don't want to use that one. So I'm taking my rigger brush, which is the long brush here, and I'm going in, and I can never know if I'm actually, and I'm coming in around the edges here with the water, just trying to fill in all the areas that I missed. How the heck do you know if everything's covered? From the angle that I am right now, and remember, don't forget about the inside of the guitar here. From the angle that I am, I can't, because with my light, it's not giving me any reflection here, whether or not, and there, ooh, there's a little bit of right in there. You need to see the shininess of it, and so I'll show you in a minute once I think I've covered it all, what I'm talking about. There's a sheen. Oh, be very careful. I ended up using some older tape, and I can see that there's some contamination already happening here in the corner because I didn't clean the tape off very well. Be careful of things like that. I got stingy because I'm running out of tape, and I haven't been to the hardware store to get any more tape. So now I am looking at it, and I don't know if you can see the shininess or not, but I'm noticing right away I'm missing all sorts of areas. I'm missing here. I'm missing up by the guitar here, around the monkey. You can see that there's a little bit missing here. And don't be worried about how much water you put on this. This is fine. Just get it loaded and make sure everything's covered. Okay, I think I've got it. Just around here a little bit more. I think I'm okay. Because having done this, you're going to have a way better chance of doing a good wash. Okay. So this is not a large area. It's wet already. So we have a couple things we can do. We can use a large flat brush, and I have the large inch flat brush, and I'm going to show you a little bit about that. And you could use varying sizes of round, flat, whatever you like. The thing is, I haven't made enough paint here, because what I want to do is I want to make sure that I can go over several times glazing with that paint. And what do you think here? I've got hardly anything here. So what should I be doing? If you can see that, I'm going to spray here, get some more water into this mixture, because I need water, but I also need lots more pigment. And what's happening here is that it's all running into that corner. So let's get that more pigment in there, which means I didn't put a lot of water into where the paint is. And the other thing you can do is spray those. Just make sure that they're wet so that the pigment and gum, the aerobic that's mixed together will come in so that you get the color you want, okay? And you're not just getting water. Okay, so I remixed, and now I've got to get a little bit of yellow in, and I don't want to use the same brush. Okay, I got to test this again to see if it's the same color. Yes, good. So thank goodness I was able to do that. So I'm going to pick up a bunch of paint with this large brush, but I haven't really, other than what I've got here, I haven't added any more water or anything because I have the water already here. And now I'm just gonna go nice strokes all the way across here. It's actually darker, but don't worry, just keep working around. If you find that you're losing paint, don't be afraid to go back in and pick up more paint. Okay? The good thing is that because it's wet, it's not going to create a lot of lines at this point. So you can move and manipulate the brush around. It's not as critical, okay? Because normally when you do wet on dry, you're going to see the lines so much more. Here, we're not concerned about that because we've wet it, but you don't, make sure you have enough paint on your brush, because again, if you don't, it's going to impact. All right, almost done. Just trying to get into those areas. Get the other paint out of here. Now, see what I'm doing here? I'm using the side of my brush as well as the flat of the brush. But I'm a little trepidatious about going in here with this size of brush, so I'm actually going to come back in with this. Whoa! There's a lot of paint here. So let's just try and carefully mix this in. So now I will use the big brush to spread that color around. And I also would like to see a little bit darker down at the bottom here, rather than up at the top. I want some more darks here for the first layer. We'll add more anyways, but I just want to make sure it's a little darker here. And you can still do this because this is all wet on your paper, but I just noticed I've got to get in here a little bit and fill in some of those little cracks that I'm missing. And I notice it's spread here. I'm not too concerned about that. I think I'll be okay because it's darker anyways on the guitar handle. Just want to make sure I've got the little corner. Just try and make sure it's really even. There's a couple of different techniques you could also use with this to make sure that happens. But I want to keep it as simple as possible, so let's not overdo it. I think just doing it this way is fine. Okay. This is a rough kind of edging on the granite or stone walkway area. So I think we're okay there too. I just noticed that's a bit too light there. Just fix that up and push that out. Okay, so what you have to do with this first wash, see, I actually have to just leave it. Now, one of the things I want to remind you to do, and I always forget, is clean off the tape on the edges, because that's one of the problems that I said caused me to have this problem right here on the corner. I had left the other color from the other, whoa, a little too much. Okay, and that's another thing you can do too. Tilt it a bit, because that will move the paint around a bit. This is already drying quite a bit. I'm okay with the way it's looking right now. Can't believe how fast it's drying, actually. Okay. So that's our first step. I've cleaned around the edges. That's my first layer of the water. This little thing, I just pick it up and make it disappear a bit. But that's all we want to do at the moment because I really want it to dry. We can work on something on the lower area to pass the time for the moment while it's drying, so that you know, you don't have to, but I wanted to show you a couple processes in the meantime. This is the skin tone for the legs. You take yellow, can you see that? And you take some permanent rose. And you have to just work it, because to me that's too orange for his legs. I want a little bit more on the red side. You can add just a hint of blue in there, and that'll give him a pretty good color for his legs. Maybe even a little bit more blue. Just be careful, because it'll turn green if you're not careful. See, I'm kind of already too greeny. Okay, there's the red. That's good. That's the proper color there. Let's see here. If you can see it, I've got not enough wet brush, but there you are. Look at that. That's perfect. That's a good tan. And it's still going to dry lighter. So what can we do with that? We can do a nice little wash right in here. Now this is wet on dry. And be careful of the edges. I'm using a flat brush again. I'm going to apply it quickly and then come in with my little rigger brush, wherever my little rigger brush is, here, and add a little bit of that paint to my brush, and now just come in and touch that up. Fill his things in, and I will come back later and just add some highlights, because his knee here is just a little lighter on this area. But before this all dries, I've got to make sure it's all uniform and that I've got all the edges there. Comes right up to his guitar and then up to his shorts. Add just a wee bit more paint there. Okay, now, since I've done that, it is almost dry. Oh, I don't trust it. But what we can do is we can do the neck. And here I would keep just the small brush. Oh, do you see what I just did? I touched the wet area. It's so easy to do. So if the only thing to do is wait or put in something so that you don't accidentally touch that area. So here we go. I'm just coming in to do his neck. Like, you can take all the time you want. Okay, I think we've got it, because his ear is up there too, but I'm not gonna, can I do, no, I can't do his ear because it's too close. Okay, there's even a bit of dark, but I can come back and redo that later. Just down here, shadow a bit more. Really under the beard, actually, there's more shadow right in there. Okay, I'm happy right now with that. We're not going to do any more at the moment.